Hey, what's up guys? My name is Sarth and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to do a VOD review to go over exactly how you can improve and what you can do in the raid of Blackwing Lair. We're going to go through the entire raid, and this run was done in about 45 minutes. I averaged about 99 parse. I think I got a 99 average on this run. I mess up quite a bit on this run, and that is exactly why I wanted to go over specifically this run for my first VOD review posted onto YouTube. I also recorded a VO of this run last night, and I actually realized that I do a lot of ums and uhs during that, so I wanted to re-record the intro to this really quickly. I started this YouTube channel at the beginning of the year, so I am newer to this. This has only been a couple months in, and because of that, I'm not necessarily adept at talking on camera yet, but I do appreciate everyone who supports the channel, and I appreciate your patience. This is specifically going to be a run for rogues. If you're a rogue and you want to increase your parses on Blackwing Lair, and you want to watch how somebody who's doing really well, per se, can go about things to improve and do better. This is making the difference between getting a 98 parse and 99 parse, or even just getting a normal 99 parse and getting in like a top 100 parse. So we're going to go over literally everything that you can do to improve in Blackwing Lair. Once again, my name is Sarth, and let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing, I start off the raid, right? So it's pretty simple. Everybody runs in. Ideally in a speed run, everybody will sapper these. You'll pop your cooldowns and blow these up because you can get a lot of cleave off. You can see that our main tank starts actually mind controlling the boss as soon as he can. He runs down here and he has to wait right until we kill these, but it takes a second. That's why you want to kill these instantly. And then he's mind controlling the boss. Boom. It actually, I guess it opens up a little bit before. Here is just a downtime. You don't actually have to do literally anything. The first thing on Razorgore, this fight is very simple, and your parse doesn't actually start until you actually fight the boss, which is only going to take you between 15 and 30 seconds, maybe 40 if your guild's going really slow. So right here, the big thing to note is I use my cooldowns right on those first mobs. Ideally, everyone in your group will sapper and AoE, and you'll just destroy those instantly. It'll cut off like just a couple seconds. I was also talking to Twitch chat during a couple of this, so whatever. In here, right, during the ad phase of Razorgore, you kind of want to try to get off as much damage as possible to the ads, so you don't really optimize using Slice and Dice as like your second ability. It's going for two separate backstabs a lot of the time, mainly because you don't have enough time. Like you get off a Slice and Dice. Here I'll go after a Slice and Dice because a Dragonkin spawned, so you'll have a lot more uptime on DPS on a mob. But a lot of times you'll get your Slice and Dice off, and then it'll just be a waste because the mobs will die. Unless there's a Dragonkin, you don't even want to go for a Slice and Dice. You're pretty much just going for backstabs, or if you are Sword Spec, you're just going for Sinister Strike. It's mainly, or if there's two mobs where you have enough time that you think you will be able to do enough damage output increase from using your Slice and Dice, and that's the only time. But right there, see, I use Slice and Dice again. I would probably, maybe I'll skip past this because this phase is really boring and it's really easy, and there's nothing really to note outside of that, right? It's mostly optimizing your uptime, trying to get as many backstabs or Sinister Strikes off as possible. You can use your Blade Flurry again here before the boss becomes targetable, so you will have it back up if you want it. So you can use Blade Flurry anytime you see two mobs right next to each other. I think I may have decided to hold on to it just in case on this run, but it doesn't matter because the amount of time you're spent fighting the trash, it's basically static, right? Technically you can have an optimal route for your tank to be destroying the eggs, but it's basically going to be static. So no matter how much DPS you do during this phase, it's never going to increase how fast you get to fight the boss. So let's skip ahead for a second, see if we can. There's a couple eggs left, still a couple eggs left. All right, Here, you're gonna see that our group is gonna run behind here. This is an archaic strategy. It is an old strategy because Razorgore used to instantly AoE everybody in private servers. He would do the fireball. The fireball is now kickable. It actually looked like after last week's hot fix that it didn't seem kickable, but it still was, so whatever. It just on classic Caspars it showed that it like wasn't. It had the bar around it that it wasn't, but it was. So whatever. So you never need to do this. The only thing that's important at all is that you're not in between your main tank and the boss, because the boss is going to run to your main tank, and pretty early on, he's going to use Conflagrate. Conflag will basically be a frontal cone that disorients everyone in front of him, and then they'll also do AoE damage. Don't get hit by Conflag, you're going to be set. So you'll see us get into position here. He's killing the last egg. You don't need to get into position like this. I will say that once again, you don't need to get in position like this. This wastes, so you kind of need to use a sap. I used an early Blade Flurry there. So I popped Blade Flurry early, which was actually a mistake to pop it that early because I wanted to use it so that I had as much uptime as possible because this fight lasts like 20 seconds. I should have used it during the fight or directly before I attacked the boss. You can also see that I lipped early on this fight because I might pass the tank and threat. Let's check that out. Boom. I passed the tank and threat a few times, so what I'm going to do is just vanish, drop all of my threat. I have a start attack macro on my either backstab or ambush out of your opener out of stealth. Ideally, you're using ambush. I also baited out. I dodged this. I don't think I resisted the stun, but I tend to do this where I back up for a second when I think he's going to stun. It's super RNG and it's basically impossible to do. Maybe I resist it. Let's see. I believed I moved away for a second. Yep. All right. I moved away for a second. So you can get out of getting stunned. It's just you have to get super lucky. It can be a scuff to your DPS. Ideally, on this fight, you would probably use a FAP if you need to. If threat's not an issue on Veil at all, you would use a FAP on this fight. But I used a lip, which actually ends up hurting me for the next fight. I ended up doing 13k DPS, or 1.3k, sorry. 1.3k DPS on the boss, but it hurts me on Veil because I won't have my lip up in time. I also won't have my Blade Flurry up in time. There's not 2 minutes. In a speedrun, you won't have another 2 minutes. Ideally, I wouldn't have used sprint so that I could sprint here and then you can distract all of these mobs. So kind of the ideal pot situation is you can use a greater fire protection potion if you need the mitigation, way before you fight Razorgore, while you're still fighting the ads. But you want to have your lip up for Veil if you are doing an actual speed run. Ideally, you have your lip up. So I will not have it up, and it's going to mess up my opening quite a bit because the difference that it makes is actually pretty intense. So I'm going to mess up my opener a little bit on this fight. Ideally, right there. So I need to re-mention this really fast, or not re-mention it. I guess I haven't mentioned it on one of these videos yet. But when you're doing a lip opener on Veil, you have to wait till you get Essence of Red. This debuff right here. So you have to wait for that lightning to go down, and the second the lightning goes down, you can pop a lip and start DPSing. You can pop Blade Flurry the second before that happens, but you can't. If you pop a lip early, you'll actually be immune to getting Essence of Red, so you won't have infinite energy, mana, all of that stuff. So make sure that you don't do that and scuff yourself. So right there, I have to wait a couple seconds, right? I do one Sinister Strike just to be scared on threat, and then I DPS. It was too late. I wasn't going to catch up on threat anyways here, so I don't know why I even needed to. I didn't even need to lip because I had waited long enough. Our tank is really good at threat. I also mess up by letting Slice and Dice fall off. A big thing on this fight is just uptime on Slice and Dice. You're not watching for a 5-point Slice and Dice or anything like that, but you are watching for a 5-point Eviscerate. So I could have done a lot more DPS on this specific one because I rewatched this before and I saw how much I had messed up. Every time you get to 5 points, you're going to want to Eviscerate unless you have the PvP gear, which can put you at enough attack power to not be doing that, and you'll just be spamming backstab. The 2-piece and all of your other gear needs to be really good as well. Other than that though, so you just want to keep Slice and Dice up. So right as Slice and Dice is about to fall off, even if you're at 1 combo point, if you're at 2 combo points, if you're at 5, pop it again. It doesn't really matter. So just keep Slice and Dice up. It doesn't matter at all. And then you are going to 5-point Eviscerate on every 5 points and hope for crits. You get good RNG and that's it. I did 1.7k DPS here and I messed up on multiple things. So that goes to show you that it's very easy to do so much more damage. Without Darkmoon Fair buff, I've done 2.1k DPS on Veil, so like you can easily do a lot more than what I did this week. And I have better gear now, so there that is. The next thing to mention is this was like, once again, I said that this run we were clearing all of the trash. So we're gonna clear all of the trash, right? The trash side, the pack on this side, and the trash pack on this side. But what you can actually do is you can skip this trash pack on the right side and it still counts on your logs as a non-trash skip. So this whole right side trash pack, you can completely skip it by just running your entire group right along this side and running along these barrels and going into these mobs. You still have Essence of Red, so you have full energy, full mana. You can get max rank heals out. All of your mages can extremely AoE. You're gonna use sappers on that fight as well. I also forgot to sapper on Broodlord, sorry, on Razorgore, but you can sapper there as well. So that's another thing to note for a speed run. I bind my Oil of Immolation to my sappers, so everyone should pretty much do that. You should bind an Oil of Immolation to your sappers. Moving on. All right. Wow, this is actually an old run, so seeing how things have changed in even just a few weeks. So what we do now is we designate a couple of the dagger rogues to be taking care of all of the suppression devices. I will usually be in the back, and I'll be coordinating on all of the dagger rogues to make sure that they are getting all of the ones, right? I have 2 dagger rogues that are going ahead forward and that they are getting the suppression devices. Why dagger rogues? Mainly because dagger rogues have a harder time doing more cleave and damage during a hectic fight, which is with all of these AoE mobs, right? The Taskmasters are coming in, the Dragonkins, the Egg Hatchers are coming in as well. So swords, it's a lot easier to position. That's why swords was a lot better in Molten Core as well. So yeah, so you want your dagger rogues and one person kind of leading the charge. So I will be coordinating by talking to all of the rogues and calling out specifically when they need to get which suppression devices, as well as coordinating distracts. So calling out and coordinating distracts can make things a lot easier, right? If you do it the right way, you'll still have Essence of Red at least halfway through this suppression room, so you can pull things really, really fast. But if you're moving a little bit slower, what you need to do is make sure that you're not pulling 2 hatchers at the same time. Ideally, right? In a massive speed run, you can just do that and it doesn't matter much. But for most groups, you're not worried, or you're more worried of pulling 2 at the same time. You can pull Taskmasters and the Hatchers at the same time. It's not a big deal at all. But these guys pat near each other enough that you can double pull unless you do distracts. So getting off good distracts while your group is moving up is the best way to min-max your usefulness as a rogue if you're beginning stealth during this during the suppression room. Another quick thing to mention is, if you don't know by now, you should, but the Hatchers do an AoE that knocks you out of stealth. So your hunter that's pulling them to the group needs to try to not pull them directly through you, but you also need to try to not be in between the group and the Hatchers. I'm pretty much going to skip right past this because, I mean, there's no real point in watching all of this. See how I'm kind of behind and I have 2 rogues that have already moved up ahead. The group is going to move pretty fast, but not as fast as I would like. You don't really ever need to get these internal ones. I just was doing it because why not? I had the time. I'm going to distract this guy. Easy. My group should be moving up. They're getting mana. We run with a lot more casters than most groups. So it's not like a full like min-max hardcore guild like Onslaught or something that's running with pretty much all warriors and rogues. Maybe a couple, they bring like a couple mages, a couple warlocks, not even, and 2 hunters. But we have a lot more casters. Look at our mages, man. We love mages. I call for somebody to go after this one, and I also call for a distract. Actually, I think I'm going to distract this one. Yeah, distracting it. Perfect. Moving on past this room. Broodlord is an interesting one because I have Tauren tanks, and if you have Tauren tanks, he's really hard to get into a good position because of their hitbox. I should DPS instantly. I didn't need to lip because I wasn't going to be worried too much on threat. I should have just gotten a slice and dice up. I scuffed myself and I went for 2 backstabs. Other than that, the fight is done pretty well. I move in and out of this position when I get a backstab up, so I actually lost out on some uptime on my auto attacks there. But it's mainly because I really want to get knocked into the wall. So Broodlord's in a terrible position. Look at that. I got lucky and I resisted. But all of the other rogues, look at him slowly walking back. Broodlord's just in a really, really terrible position. You want ideally for Broodlord to be in a position where you can get knocked directly into the wall and still be attacking him and not spend like 4 or 5 seconds getting back in. Other than that, watching the rotation is pretty much just attacking after using energy, or like using a backstab after a weapon swing. This run, once again, this isn't like the best run of ours. I don't know why Rancid is using those shoulders because it doesn't have full tier 2, but this is not the best run of ours. I messed up on the rotation a little bit in there, and I also lost out on a lot of uptime, so that DPS was pretty mediocre. Here I put on my fire res gear. You can also see I have like a weak aura telling me that I have a greater fire protection pot. I'm not going to go in and kill these goblins. I just actually wanted to. This was my first run testing out my fire res gear. So this was a couple weeks ago. Almost a month ago. This was like a month ago. So this was my first time testing out my fire res gear. So I wanted to make sure that I was away from these guys and away from the warlocks so that I didn't get hit by any of the AoE or any of the fire damage. Other than that, I think we're going to pull Firemaw next. Let's check. I remember. So the ideal strategy for melee for Firemaw is to tank Firemaw right in the middle. If you're doing a speedrun group, you would tank Firemaw right here because melee can LOS this close instead of having to LOS all the way away. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. If you have a fire res set, you can stay in. You'll see in this run that I stay in and I actually end up dropping stacks because I resist enough for that 20-second cooldown to just fall off. But we start off with the boss here, and then because we talked about using this strategy, this is again a month ago, and then the raid lead made the call that we were using our old strategy during this run, so then you'll see us move into the normal position that you would see for most people doing this run. I lipped a second early, so I'm never going to catch my tanks on threat, and this was actually the first time that I didn't have, or I had just gotten a Bloodfang boots, which moved me away from 5-piece tier 1. There I have I lost a lot of uptime on my auto attack there because I didn't move, which was just an idiot move to do. And I used Blade Flurry when I didn't have Adrenaline Rush. Ideally, you use them together just to get like maximum amount. It doesn't really mean too much actually, but I try to use all of my cooldowns during a burn phase a lot of times, just to min-max those. I go for one more backstab there to get a 5-point Slice and Dice. I'll lose some uptime on Slice and Dice, but I'll take it. Here, next, I'll probably Thistle Tea in a second. Right there, ideally, because I was down at 6 energy. I probably missed it. I was looking up at my stacks, but right here, you'll see that I dropped the stacks, right? So I had resisted. I got up to 6 and I had resisted. Our tank got knocked because he was in a bad position. That's just unfortunate. Dang, I forget what I was mentioning there. Oh, one thing I didn't really need to lip because I never caught up to my tank on threat. And then, oh yeah, so what I forgot was I had just switched out of the 5-piece tier 1, so I didn't have the 110 energy anymore. And I was used to doing where I would use 2 backstabs as my opener and then Slice and Dice. You can do that with the 5-piece and it'll be a fine opener and you'll have that 2-point Slice and Dice. You're missing out on like 1 second of downtime on Slice and Dice. During this run, it was my first run without it and I hadn't gotten used to using 1 backstab instant Slice and Dice. So you'll probably see it on quite a few fights. Now I'm used to it after this run and reviewing. I noticed that I was still doing that, and also I noticed during this run I was like, why can't I Slice and Dice right now, right at the beginning of the fight, and I was so annoyed, but it happens. Next up, by the way guys, the next skip for you guys to do, the next trash skip is right here. you can choose two different things, right? You can skip the group on the right, you can skip the group on the left. You're gonna skip two groups, right? So you can skip both of these groups, which is what we're gonna start doing, where you can run directly down the middle. Actually, you can technically run right down this little line right here. You run a direct line right here, and you won't pull either of the groups on either side. Also, the other one you can skip is, let's move forward. Boop, 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 boop. All right, up. When you move up, damn, I skipped right past where I wanted to be. Of course, right? Of course. We're just gonna watch this. I should get slice and dice up. There I do, so it's easy. These fights aren't that big of an issue, right? Trash isn't like a big issue. We get called to come kill one of the warlocks, I believe. Ideally, the warlock wouldn't have been in the goblin group anyways, and you would have been killing it, but that just happened. There's some ugly pulls. These fights can be a little hectic if you don't get a clean pull. Our guild has gotten a lot better at that now, but a lot of guilds, if they don't get clean pulls, then it'll just be a little bit annoying, right? All right, so we killed that. Damn. All right, so sorry about that, guys. All right, so we kill everything here. Now we're gonna move up. The next group you can skip, if you skipped only one of the groups down here and you're using, like, say you're using this little cubby to fight the other mobs, the next group you can skip is this group on the left. This group all the way up here on the left. Let's see if I pass by it. Right here. So there's a group right here, and you can skip it. So you can skip those three groups all together throughout the raid. It'll save you about 10 to 15 minutes, and it will honestly be huge. And it doesn't knock you off of like, it doesn't say you did like a trash skip on the logs. So technically that's how all of the speedruns around 30 minutes and below are doing it, because we do this one at a decent pace. I waited there to attack. I'm not using a FAP here. I decided that I was gonna eat the stun. I'm just gonna switch between targets so I don't grab aggro, because I wanted to use a lip on the dragon boss, on the next Drake, Ebon Rock. Cool, we pull Ebon Rock, we get close. Our tank is at 3k threat, so I'm not gonna pass him anyways. I didn't need to lip anyways. So you can see that I fucked up my opener again. I don't get slice and dice off for like a while. That's like a really long time. So that was a really, really ugly opener. Probably one of my worst, honestly. So once again, when I had this, this run, specifically because I had changed from my usual opener, a lot of my openers are gonna be very ugly. So other than that though, now that everything's up, it's pretty much just watching this fight and waiting to use abilities till after weapon swing. I got a dodge there, which is like one of the most annoying things that can possibly happen. So on this fight, and I got another one right there at the end, which is super annoying. On this fight, I did terrible DPS. I did 891. I probably should have done, because I used cooldowns, and like last week I did 1k without using cooldowns on this fight. Because I used cooldowns though, I probably should have done like 1.3 to 1.4 at least. It wasn't my RNG. Dodges happened, but I fucked up a lot. So at the moment, I thought that it was just RNG. You know, when you're in the moment of the raid, it's hard to like take a step back and be like, oh, how did you fuck up? Here, ideally, I would get a slice. Thank God I got a slice and dice off. But I had a bunch of uptime there where I backed away from the boss, and I lost out on a lot of uptime of my actual auto attack. Yeah, so ideally that won't happen. Also, I slice and diced early there. So you want to renew slice and dice right as it's about to go off. If you don't have cooldowns, you're pretty much always renewing slice and dice throughout the fight. You're never going to really be able to use an eviscerate as a dagger rogue. Right here, see, I'll use slice and dice as it's about to go off. Boom, and then I'll use an ability after weapon swing. Easy. I do get blade flurry up at the end, it looks like, but I don't think I'm going to use it. So I pretty much do the same amount of DPS on this fight as I did in the last fight with 0 cooldowns. And I did more on this fight, 872, so with 0 cooldowns. So I kind of, you can see like the difference between, if you're using cooldowns or not. But that's literally, there's no cooldowns used there and pretty much 900 DPS. And I messed up a couple times on backing away a little bit too far, and I used a slice and dice early, so I kind of wasted some of my uptime on backstabbing and stuff. Whatever that happens. Chromag. Shboop, shboop. Summon whoever's clicking Chromag. If you're fighting Chromag here, some guilds fight Chromag actually directly where he comes out. My guild obviously doesn't. We fight Chromag here. Most guilds fight Chromag right here. I think it's the optimal place. A speedrun fighting him right where he is, I guess, is better. I like fighting him here. I don't really, either one works completely well, so it doesn't really matter. But we're summoning the guy that's gonna go start it. Other than that, you are gonna see in this run that I try to use a Hourglass Sand and I mess up, I miss and don't click it, and then I freak out because I get stunned. And so instantly going in DPS, you don't really need to lip. Like, look how much threat he has. So I for a while, right as I started doing the lip strategy, I was lipping instantly on every fight, every boss. But now you can just look at where your tank is on threat, and if they're at like 4 or 5k, you're not going to catch up, right? I let Slice and Dice fall off here, which I should have renewed it faster so that I would be able to get more combo points. Ideally, I would have renewed Slice and Dice earlier, like instantly, been able to build up more combo points, and then if I had to, come back in with a new Slice and Dice. Here's where I should have used my Hourglass Sand. I thought I did. Hourglass Sand does not have a GCD, so you can see I actually wasted 2 of them right there. I double click it and I used 2 because I was freaking out after I got stunned and I was like, oh, I suck. Boom. On this run, we actually get Frost, like most of it, so all of our mages, pretty much, literally all of our mages got in the top 100 in the world on their parses. So, and we don't even have a Winner's Chill mage because someone that was Winner's Chill decided instantly that they didn't want to be Winner's Chill for that raid anymore. Like, it wasn't worth it. Here you're going to notice that before I run out, I go back in, get another ability out, and I'm going to do it again. I'm actually going to run in and make sure I got a Sinister Strike out before the breath. The reason why I do that is to min-max on uptime, right? So you want to get all of your abilities out as much as possible, and then I'm going to come in with a new Slice and Dice and use actual abilities and do like my little burn phase. So this is where I start pumping. I think I don't know what my end DPS is on this fight anymore. We're not even gonna see it. I could check the logs, but I let Slice and Dice fall off, and then it was too late. I decided it was too late. Whatever. I wonder if I scroll down to see where I'm at. Let's look. All right, 807 DPS. Not bad, not amazing, but not bad. It's a 99. So all of these fights are like 99s, but they're not like amazing, right? These aren't like top 100 parses on this run, and I'm just complaining. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we had Frost the whole time pretty much, and I was like, yeah, that was crazy. So we kill that really fast. Neff is another one. At the time I was forgetting to change off my Onyxia Scale Cloak for Chromag. Don't do that. Honestly, you don't need your cloak for the Drakes. I don't think I'm going to use my cloak for the Drakes anymore. Ideally, you won't get hit by a Shadow Breath or Shadow Flame. Just don't get hit by Shadow Flame. There you go. Next. This fight is super simple. Obviously, for Neff, you just want to kill the mobs. It's the same thing as the Broodlord, or sorry, Razorgore kind of, where you're not always using Slice and Dice, mainly for daggers, because one backstab will do more. You don't have enough time to like really Slice and Dice and get any like extra auto attacks off. Like, look, this mob's dead. So you're pretty much just backstabbing at this point. If you want to go for a really, really good parse on Neff, let me skip through a little bit. So if you want to go for a really, really good parse on Neff, you'll actually run away when there's very few mobs left. When it's like 2 mobs left, you can run away early when there's 2 mobs left. Right after you cast this Shadow Flame, you can equip your normal cloak. So to add extra DPS, equip your normal cloak if you're not afraid of getting Shadow Flamed from the boss. I think I lip here, but I shouldn't have. Doom was way ahead on threat. There's no way I'm going to catch him. I should have just done a normal opener. Once again, I messed up on getting Slice and Dice. So last week on this fight, I was at 1,000 DPS at 40%, like 33%, and I hadn't used Adrenaline Rush yet or Blade Flurry, so it's easy to do really, really well on this fight, right? You can see both of us are at 800 DPS. Me and another rogue are at 800 DPS, and none of us have used any cooldowns, right? Luckily, I am a dagger rogue, so I can Will of the Forsaken one of the first fear, and then you'll get to do other fears later, right? But our tank almost died there, probably because he wasn't getting decursed. So here's the thing. On this fight, don't lip the opener. Don't lip the opener. What you're gonna do is FAP if you get rogue call. We've literally gotten rogue call every single time, no matter what, every single time on my main. It's crazy, it's super annoying, but we've gotten rogue call every time. Boom, rogue call, and right here, every rogue was like, move, move, move. I should have popped evasion. I was just like trying to get him to move, that's all. I was just trying to get him to move. He moved out of range of healers and didn't get decursed, which messed everything up. So we still have, look, I still have Adrenaline Rush. I still have Thistle Tea. We were gonna, I guess I didn't bring any Stratholme Holy Water, but you should bring Stratholme Holy Water as well. Actually, you're gonna want to Sapper anyways. They share cooldown. So here is very ugly. I'm always dead on Neff. It just happens. But ideally, so the ideal thing, if you get Rogue Call, he moves really, really slow. We actually we changed who's main tanking this fight, mainly because his reaction time, our main tank at the time, or who we had tanking this, his reaction time is very slow. But ideally, you just want your main tank to pick up the boss, right as rogue call happens, run straight through the boss. Run straight through the boss. You're gonna start getting tail whipped, which will stun you. You just pop a FAP. That's it. Pop a FAP, you're fine. So you see rogue call, all of us were just telling him to move, man. We were probably crowding comms so much. Look at that. That was forever. And then he's out. Yeah, he didn't get decursed instantly. Boom, I get Shadow Flamed. I live through the Shadow Flame, obviously. I also get cleaved. I live through the cleave. I'm going to try to bandage here, but then I'm just going to pull aggro because I vanished early on in the fight, which I shouldn't have needed to do because I didn't need to drop aggro. I didn't really watch my threat meters there. Let me actually show you guys my face right there really fast. One sec. Logitech Brio, get out of here. All right, look at my face as I die. This is like that feeling when you die and like you messed up. Like you're doing decent, right? 850 DPS is really good. That's a 99 right there. A 600 DPS is a 99 on Neff, which is crazy, right? So 850 DPS without having to use Adrenaline Rush and without having to use Sapper, which a good Sapper can do like 60k damage, which would like almost double the damage. A good Sapper is huge. Watch as all of these mages just, or maybe not all of them, but they pump up for a second, and they weren't even on the meters, just blasting up there. Yeah, so it's pretty unfortunate. I don't know if 600 is still a 99 on there, but it would have been a very good run. Vs lived, lucky. And Boomer Tank Pog. He just didn't move. He just didn't move. So yeah, so that fight, that is Neff. Pretty easy, right? The raid is really easy. We got some good loot there too because the chest piece is really good. Breastplate of Wrath. I actually don't know how great that is. But this helm is pretty insane. But other than that, right? So that's a full VOD review of Blackwing Lair, and that's me reviewing myself and critiquing where I can do things differently. So if people want me to do reviews of them, just hit me up on Twitch. If you're a Twitch sub, you can get, obviously you'll have access to my Discord, which has all of my weak orders, my UI, questions and answers. I go through people's parses, but you can also send me your VOD and I will go over that. But it's really helpful, right? If you can look back on your raid and see all of the times that you messed up, so that next week you can be like, oh, I actually fucked up on all of this. I messed up so much on this raid, so that's why I wanted to show it, because it's pretty ugly, honestly, and I could have done way better. So that's the best way to improve. If you talk to anyone who has improved to the highest level of pretty much any game, I know this because like I used to play Overwatch. I built this computer to play Overwatch. I was in top 500 on Xbox, and then I wanted to play on computer. And a lot of times you'll watch back your VODs and see different things that you mess up on, so that the next time you don't even really have to think about it. It's just like, oh, I already know not to do this here, not to do this here. So a great way to improve your DPS, to get better parses, is to go over your VODs, to go over your logs as well, but that's a little confusing for most people, and it doesn't actually tell you as much because it's easier to see things. Like when I stepped away from a boss for half a second and lost uptime on auto attacks because I ranged myself. Things like that you really won't see fully from a VOD. I used lips on multiple fights that I never needed to use a lip on. Cooldown usage, like things like using a cooldown on Razorgore versus Veil, because you're going to want to use Adrenaline Rush on Razorgore because it does nothing for you on Veil. Adrenaline Rush, Thistle T, Sapper, but on Veil, you want to like... If you're doing a speed run, you'll want to hold on to your Blade Flurry because you won't have that 2 minutes back of like engaging up for Veil. So you want to pre-Blade Flurry for Veil. That's the mega fight for lipping and banishing. And other than that, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you like the content, please hit the like and subscribe button. It means a lot. If you have any questions, just shoot them down in the comments, and feel free to hang out in the stream anytime. I started doing a lot more Q&A in the stream where I go over BIS lists, I go over what's coming up. I also help people, like if they have questions a lot of times on like their gear or what they should be using or what their rotation should be. On this fight, you can literally see that I got a 99 overall on this, and I literally messed up my rotation multiple times, especially my opener. So you don't have to play absolutely perfect every time. After watching this one, I started playing a lot better even, and so next week when we run an actual speed run again, hopefully I'm aiming to do like 2.2 or 2.3k DPS on Veil, and then also just crush all of the rest of the bosses. That's if a warrior doesn't decide to forget to use lip on the last like 10 to 8% and pulls aggro and kills us all. Alright, that is it. That's the video, man. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, yeah, thank you very much. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Once again, my name is Sarth, and if you have any rogue questions, hit me up. Have a good one, guys. Peace!